Hello everyone, and welcome back to DMG. Today we have a teardown of a 1 terabyte Seagate Barracuda drive. No Orbeez this time, like last teardown video, just a classic point and laugh at points of failure. Now this is a very common chassis for Seagate drives. They've used this for over a decade, probably like 15 years or so by this point. They put pretty much everything through a 7200.7, I believe, in this chassis. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, they've been using this chassis for a while. The layout of the bottom has changed, but this form factor that's a little shorter than a half-height, normal 3.5-inch drive, like the regular hard drive size that you usually see, that's what their lower capacity drives, such as the lower terabyte range and 500 gigabyte, that kind of thing. Anyway, most of the consumer grade drives are in this chassis. I believe there's a website where I can convert this date code of 13177 to like actually human readable date. Let me go do that really quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 7200.12 series drive. Okay, so a little older than I thought. This is a 2012-1101 date code drive. Okay, so checking a data sheet, I was a few months off. The Barracuda 7200.12 series was Q1 of 2011. This was Q4 of 2011. This is a 7200.14 drive, as detailed in Seagate's datasheet. It's kind of a shame that this drive doesn't work, because the ST1000DM003 is actually rated to be a pretty good drive, and although it is just a Barracuda drive, I've benchmarked some of these in the past, and they're pretty fast. So this being from late 2012, being a 7200.14 drive, that does make sense, since 7200.14 was their last line that they put numbers after, I believe. Then it was just the Barracuda after that in 2016. So there was really kind of a big hiatus in their consumer grade drives. They updated the 7200.14 series a little bit. So the failure with this one is it just doesn't work. Like, it spins up and it tries to read, but it can't. And I've actually been thinking about doing a clear drive build in this chassis. So being able to inspect one in detail without having to worry about breaking a working drive will be a good opportunity that I am glad I can take advantage of. This one came out of an HP pre-built that had been retired and was sent to e-waste. I always grab hard drives from e-waste machines. Often the machine itself isn't really worth it, but I always like having a few spare drives around, and if they don't work, they make good content for these videos. This is a very firm seal here. An extremely firm seal. Wow. I'm gonna have to use something else. There we go. That is the strongest seal ever on a... Oh my god. What happened here? Okay, let me just put that lid back on for a second and finish what I was saying. So that's the strongest seal I've ever seen on a consumer grade drive. But let's look at this. There's dust all over the platter. That dust can't have gotten in just from me opening the lid. Wow. That's like... It's all over the platter. Look at how much there is. Also, it's hard to see. There we go. Now I think you can kind of get the reflection of just how much dust there is. This thing is covered in dust. Sorry, it's very hard to film hard drives because the platter is perfectly reflective. So really highlighting anything on it can be a bit difficult. That might be a little better. But yeah, there's just trust me on this one, there's dust. This is built really cheaply. I mean, cost effective makes sense since it's their lowest level consumer grade drive. This filter didn't seem to be doing much. Okay, so it has an intake hole on the bottom, covered by that little silver thing. Yeah, this filter didn't really do much. Let me pop it in a caddy really quickly and see what it's doing. Spins up, moves onto the platter, moves to the firmware zone, appears to be reading it, and then that's where it ends. So yeah, the head successfully moves from the load ramp onto the platter. It goes to right about here, which is where it would be loading the firmware for the drive. And then it goes to right about there on the platter. And that is where it stops moving. And now it's stuck. There we go. But yeah, it's definitely platter corruption, as we can see by the mounds of dust on this drive. So it just has a poor seal. Now that was an issue on, as far as I'm aware, it's been an issue on Barracuda drives. So not much of a surprise there. Wait, is that dust or is that... Yeah, some of that is dust, but some of it is like scratches and pockmarks in the platter. Now this is a pretty cheap spindle clamp. I have seen worse. I've also seen a lot better. But there have been worse ones, namely in Toshiba drives. Let me see. Okay, so I don't have too much of a complaint with this. I like that it's landing zone, or sorry, I like that it's load ramp instead of landing zone. That is nice. I don't like that there's so many different screw sizes. I have to pull out a different screwdriver every, like, 15 seconds. And none of my screwdrivers actually fit, apparently. There we go. So once I get this top magnet off, that should remove the head stop. So there we go. So I can extend it there and get our platter. There we go. Yeah, I mean, it's built like a Barracuda. It looks like a Barracuda. It smells like a Barracuda. Same thing on the bottom of the platter. Same, like, dust and scratches. Usually you don't see dust on the bottom of the platter, but from just like electromagnetic charges, often dust does stick to electronic devices. So I suppose that could be an explanation. We're going to remove the controller board here. This is a pretty common controller board layout for these Barracuda drives. There should not be anything special. I'm assuming they're not using a single chip solution like some of the server drives we've been looking at lately, but they could be. Usually on consumer grade drives, it's easier to use like multiple chips for ROMs, controller, cache, and motor control. And yeah, that's exactly what I thought. So they actually have a thermal pad on this LSI controller and a place that the thermal pad connects to, the square right there. So that's really nice. You often don't see that on consumer grade drives, and that's something that could be done a lot better. JK, that, yeah, this square is what that thermal pad connects to. That is for the motor controller. So there's actually two places where it heat sinks onto the drive, which is fantastic. WD needs to do a better job about that on their drives. Let's see what we've got here. We've got a Samsung RAM chip, exactly as I was expecting. We've got ROMs up here probably. And then there's your controller. It's an LSI, pretty common, small chip. A smooth motor control, and that actually provides the voltage to the motor. That's to be expected. The controller is what runs the head mechanism. That's normal. And yeah, the Samsung chip, what are you? I believe that is a 16 megabyte from the code on it. So yeah, pretty normal controller there. We have more of a golden yellow color on the voice coil. It's interesting. I've seen that on a few drives. I believe other Barracudas. I'm not saying there's anything bad about this. It's just an interesting thing to see. Not quite sure what causes that. Just using a slightly different metal, I suppose. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. I have deemed that this would be an excellent chassis to build a clear drive in, because the only issue is the spindle and the head are raised slightly above the edges of the drive body. So I need to build something that has a little bit of, well, a gap below the lid, and then just find a way to fill that. So that is the one thing I don't like about this drive model. But I mean, overall for a consumer grade drive, it's not that bad. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Thanks for watching. As always, tons of other hard drive content on the channel, so if you like these as much as I do, you might want to go check that out. But thanks for watching, and see you next time.